Hello and welcome to another video from my random hobbies. And yesterday something happened to me that got me thinking about collecting as a whole principle, and so I'm going to talk about that in a moment, so stay tuned. Okay, so as I said at the beginning of the video, I went to Tesco yesterday to pick up my prescription. And while I was there, I do what I often do. I'll walk down the toy aisle to see if there's anything there that I sort of fancy picking up for my collection. And there were a couple of Funko Pops around that I'd not seen at Tesco before. And I have an app on my phone that I can check out the sort of current value, if you like, the market value of these Pops. And they were... what's it called? They were Pokemon Pops, and there were some normal sized ones, and then there were some sort of super sized 10-inch ones as well. I think the small ones were £10 and the larger ones were £30. So I did a quick search on this app, and it came back that the small ones were currently worth about £14-15, and the larger ones about £43-44 a piece. So, you know, you would automatically think that's a good deal. That's something that I need to be doing. I need to be getting into that. And I had to stop myself, because what do I care about Pokemon? Actually, my first knowledge of Pokemon was as a teacher in my first position, and having to confiscate cards and ban cards and all the rest of it because they were a nightmare. I don't really get Pokemon, and you know, I have in the past bought a couple of cards thinking, oh well, maybe this is something I can get into. Doesn't appeal to me whatsoever, but the thought was there, and that thought stems from people getting into hobbies and getting into collecting things for possibly what I consider the wrong reasons. And I've done this myself, where you see something, you know it's going to be popular, and so you buy one in the hope that you'll sell it for a fortune later on. That's, for me, is the wrong reason to get into a hobby. And when I first started with the Hot Wheels cars, I would buy everything. I would literally buy anything and everything, thinking, oh well, maybe this is going to, you know, make a fortune, or maybe this is, there's lots of thoughts go through your head about this sort of stuff, and actually that's the wrong reason to be collecting. You collect something because you like it, you enjoy it. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you go out and buy things and then you sell them on. I'll give a couple of examples. So these Ford Escort and a Volvo Estate were popular about 2 years ago, maybe year and 2 years ago, because of COVID, of course. And they're £1.50, £2 at the most in shops, but people went nuts for these things, and so people would be buying up 20, 30, 40 of them if they found them, and then selling them on at an inflated price plus postage. That's the entrepreneur. That's the person who sees a gap in the market, who sees a demand, goes out and fulfills that demand. They're not collecting. They're simply trying to make money off other people's desire to collect something. Similar to that would be this example. Now this is a Millennium Falcon, and it's the original version from the sort of late 70s, early 80s. You'll see the glass is missing in here. There's no guns on top. When you open it up inside, there's no interior, there's no gun share, etc, etc, no chessboard that you would expect to see in a complete model. The reason for that is that, unfortunately, people have found that collectors, I suppose like myself, are willing to pay more for missing parts. And so they strip out things like this so that they can make more money. And that satellite dish that sits on top here, people are charging £50 just for that piece, and some people are prepared to pay it. And of course, that's where sort of the entrepreneur / collector's world merge, because obviously if people are prepared to pay something, then you're going to try and make some money on it, and someone will. And so that for me is something that sort of bugs me a little bit about the whole collector market, if you like, that there's always people out there willing to try and make more money on it. And if you think about it really hard, collections are only valuable either to the person collecting them or to someone who's willing to pay the money. So we take the Star Wars as a prime example. That's an original Millennium Falcon. In 20 years' time, maybe 30 years' time, people like me aren't going to be going out and buying stuff like that. Who's going to be buying it? The die-hard Star Wars fans, but there's tons of them out there. Okay, they're sitting in people's collections, in people's garages, in people's toy shops, games rooms, whatever they are. But in 20 or 30 years' time, the high prices that you can pay for these things, are they going to be the same? Possibly, possibly not. Because people like me, midlife crisis age, aren't going to be wanting to relive their childhood, and they're not going to be prepared to pay the money for it. And so you will have a very small market of people now wanting to pay for something like that. So I think some of these collections have a finite sort of period of time where they're going to be valuable. And so if you're going to be getting into a collection for making money's sake, I will class you as an entrepreneur rather than a collector. If you're collecting because you like your Looney Tunes, and actually I wanted the set of these because the artwork on the cards, and so it reminded me of my childhood, and I love the Looney Tunes, so that's why I got that. Nothing to do with the fact that I'm hoping to make money on it, because chances are I possibly won't. And so going back to the Pokemon at Tesco, I could have gone back there and paid, I don't know, a couple of £100, picked up a few large ones, a couple of small ones, waited a couple of months and hope that it's going to accrue in value and then try and sell them on for a few pounds. Am I really going to be doing that? If I wanted to build my personal collection and I thought, yeah, there's a guarantee that these things are going to be worth more, but then again, you look back and you look at the trends and you see that they fluctuate like this. And so they might be high one year and dip right down low the next. So finding that crucial selling point is also going to be key. And you've got to have that disposable income and that risk. It's a bit like stocks and shares. You've got to gamble whether or not you're going to make that money. And I think that's a big gamble to take. So it's not something that I'm particularly into. That's why my collection around me now is pertinent to me, things that I remember from my childhood, things that I enjoy, things that I simply just like the look of. Okay, there are certain things in my collection I just think, do you know what, I like that. I like this one, for example, here, because it's a cool figure. There were lots of these made, different types of vehicle, but this is a skateboarder. It's from the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, which didn't run. So therefore, for me, this was interesting and something to hang on to. More for nostalgia than anything else, rather than I'm going to make an absolute fortune on this, because there were lots produced. They're not going to be worth a mega bucks. But again, it's just, for me, looking back, 2020, the year of COVID, was a significant year because the Olympics didn't happen. And yet there were a lot of merchandise that was made for that. So that's why I picked it up. Okay. So there's my thoughts on whether or not you're a collector or an entrepreneur. I suppose, as I say, some people can merge the two. As you'll know, I picked up a couple of pops from previous video that I picked up sort of speculative pops. They were really cheap, and the sort of potential for them to make a little bit of money in the future was there, and I would then invest that back into buying other things for my collection. I don't do that often, and I only do it if it's really cheap, because there's no point in for me risking a lot of money. So those ones up there, £2-3, as opposed to 20, 30, 40 pounds, which I can't really justify. So that's my thoughts on collecting. It's something that I feel quite strongly about, and I know that there are collectors out there who feel very strongly about people buying up stock to then sell at an inflated price. And you will see them occasionally in toy shops, in supermarkets, going and buying 10, 20, 30 of something. It's not for themselves, it's so that they can push the price up at a later date. So there we go. Don't get into collecting if you think you're going to make tons of money. Some people have fantastic collections that are worth thousands and thousands of pounds. And yes, in theory, if they sold them, it would make them a small fortune. However, you ask those collectors, those genuine collectors, if they would sell some of their collection, and chances are they would say no, because they are collecting it for the enjoyment that it gives to them. And that's what I do when I'm collecting things. I collect things for the enjoyment that it gives to me, and it's not for making profit further down the line. Okay, thank you very much for listening to my ramblings and for watching today. Please do comment below on anything that you've heard today, whether you agree or disagree. Please like and subscribe so that you can see future videos, and I will see you again soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.